I'm a conspiracy theorist to a degree. Like when I connect dots that maybe shouldn't be connected, I don't know. But certain dots, like when I see that they put every black man in the movies in a dress at some point in their career, I'll be connecting that.
They say every man has his price, but in Hollywood, the currency isn't just dollars, it's dignity. What if I told you that the gold statue Michael B. Jordan held at the Oscars wasn't just an award for acting, but a receipt for a transaction he made in the shadows of the BAFTAs? Are we really going to sit here and pretend that the most humiliating public racial attack of the decade, broadcasted by the BBC to millions, was just a glitch in the system? Or was it the final, brutal hazing ritual required before the industry officially handed him the crown? Dave Chappelle isn't laughing anymore. In fact, he's reportedly terrified. Because he's seen this movie before, and he knows exactly how it ends. He knows that the same machine that accidentally let a slur air for 2 full hours is the same machine that decided Michael was suddenly worthy of Best Actor just 3 weeks later. Was it merit, or was it a guilt prize designed to silence a man who just took one for the team? Tonight, we aren't just connecting dots. We are tracing a systemic pattern of psychological warfare that has been breaking black male entertainers for over 70 years. From the dresses of the past to the digital lynchings of today, the playbook hasn't changed, only the actors have. Is Michael B. Jordan the new king of Hollywood? Or is he just the latest resident of the golden cage Chappelle warned us about? Buckle up, because the truth is more disturbing than the fiction, and by the time this video ends, you'll never look at an Oscar win the same way again. Don't blink. The machine is watching. The industry doesn't give you anything for free, and if you think that Michael B. Jordan just happened to have the best year of his life by accident, then you haven't been paying attention to the mechanics of the Matrix. We are talking about a man who has been the poster child for discipline and brand management for over a decade, yet suddenly he finds himself in the middle of a storm that feels like it was manufactured in a laboratory. Dave Chappelle once said that Hollywood is a sick place and that the people who run it are even sicker because they don't just want your talent, they want your peace of mind and your very identity. When we look at the timeline of 2026, it starts to look less like a series of unfortunate events and more like a carefully orchestrated sequence designed to bring a man to his knees right before they elevate him to the throne. You have to understand that Michael B. Jordan was already at the top of his game, but there is a difference between being a star and being the chosen one. To be the chosen one, you have to show that you are willing to endure the unendurable without breaking character. Look at the BAFTAs, because that is where the mask slipped for the entire world to see. Michael walks out there with Delroy Lindo and they are the image of excellence and grace. Then out of nowhere a racial slur is shouted from the audience, and it's not just a whisper, it is a loud and clear attack that vibrates through the microphones. The BBC claims it was a glitch and that they didn't have time to edit it out even though the show was on a 2-hour tape delay. How do you have 2 hours to remove a word and yet you choose to let it fly? The answer is simple if you follow the Chappelle logic. They needed that moment to go viral. They needed to see how Michael would handle a direct assault on his dignity in front of the global elite. Chappelle has spoken about how the industry tests black men by putting them in vulnerable positions to see if they will lash out or if they will remain compliant. If Michael had walked off that stage, or if he had cursed back, the headlines the next morning wouldn't have been about the racism. The headlines would have been about the angry black man ruining the prestigious BAFTA ceremony. He was trapped in a double bind where his only path to survival was to swallow the insult and keep reading the teleprompter like nothing happened. This is what Dave Chappelle calls the humiliation ritual, and it is a recurring theme in the history of black entertainment. Think back to the legendary comedians and actors who were forced into situations that made them feel spiritually sick. Chappelle himself walked away from $50 million because he felt that spiritual shift. He saw the people around him laughing in a way that felt like they were laughing at his humanity rather than his jokes. When Michael B. Jordan stood on that stage in London, he wasn't just presenting an award. He was being hazed by the most powerful institutions in the world. The slur was the punch and his silence was the surrender. The machine was watching his reaction with a stopwatch and a checklist. They saw that he didn't flinch. They saw that he didn't make a scene. They saw that he was a professional in the way that makes the boardrooms feel safe. TMZ reported that the atmosphere behind the scenes was incredibly tense, but Michael was told to just get through it by his handlers. This is the part that nobody wants to talk about. The people who are supposed to protect you are often the same people handing you over to the wolves. They tell you it's for the good of the career and they tell you it's about the bigger picture, but the bigger picture is always painted with your own blood. We are seeing leaked reports now from anonymous sources within the BBC who claim that the decision to leave the audio unedited came from the very top. They wanted the authenticity of the moment to spark a conversation. In other words, they used a black man's trauma to boost their ratings and create a viral marketing campaign for the award season. It is the ultimate form of exploitation where your pain is turned into a product for the masses to consume and debate. ABC News tried to frame it as a conversation about diversity, but the reality is that it was a public execution of Michael's pride. And then comes the reward, which is the most predictable part of the entire play. Exactly 21 days after he was called a slur on international television, Michael B. Jordan is handed an Oscar for his dual performance in Sinners. Now don't get it twisted, because Michael is a phenomenal actor and Sinners was a masterpiece of cinema. But the timing is too perfect to be ignored. It feels like the Academy was saying sorry about the racism in London, here is a gold statue to make it all better. It is the classic carrot and stick method where they hit you with the stick first and then give you the carrot so you don't realize you're being led to the slaughterhouse. Dave Chappelle has been trying to tell us about this gold statue trap for years. He told us that the industry will give you everything you ever wanted, but only after they have taken everything you actually are. When Michael stood on that stage to accept the Oscar, he looked triumphant, but if you look closely at his eyes you can see the weight of the last 3 weeks. He didn't just win an award, he won a contract that says he belongs to them now. He proved that he could take the worst they had to offer and still thank them for the opportunity to serve. The public reaction was split right down the middle, with half the world cheering for his success and the other half feeling like something was deeply wrong. Social media was flooded with comments calling it a guilt award and a pity Oscar. People were pointing out that Michael had been snubbed for years for better performances, but suddenly after a public humiliation he is the industry's favorite son. It creates a narrative where black excellence is only rewarded when it is accompanied by black suffering. If you aren't being degraded, then you aren't being seen. Anonymous insiders are starting to whisper about the Sinners campaign and how it shifted gears immediately after the BAFTA incident. Suddenly millions of dollars were poured into For Your Consideration ads that highlighted Michael's resilience and his character. They weren't just selling a movie anymore, they were selling a martyr. They turned his trauma into a campaign strategy. This is the corruption at the heart of the Hollywood machine, where every emotion is calculated for maximum profit and every award is a political move to keep the peace. Dave Chappelle's silence on this was finally broken in a reported private gathering where he allegedly said that he felt sorry for Michael because the crown he is wearing is made of thorns. Chappelle knows that once the industry knows your breaking point, they will keep pushing you until you either disappear or you become a ghost of yourself. Michael B. Jordan is currently the most powerful actor in the world, but Chappelle's warning is that power in Hollywood is an illusion. You only have power as long as you are useful to the narrative they are writing. The narrative right now requires Michael to be the perfect survivor, but what happens when he gets tired of surviving? What happens when he wants to speak his truth about what really happened in London? Chappelle walked away because he realized that the money and the fame weren't worth the price of his soul. He saw the dress and he ran the other way. Michael saw the slur and he stayed. That is the fundamental difference that we have to analyze if we want to understand the current state of black celebrity in the 21st century. This isn't just about one man and one award, it is about the entire structure of how we value human beings in the entertainment industry. We are watching a live-action version of a tragedy where the hero gets exactly what he wants but loses his shadow in the process. The leaked documents from the editing room at the BBC are just the tip of the iceberg. There are reports of emails where producers joked about the extra publicity the slur would bring to the Oscar race. It is a level of cynicism that would make your stomach turn if you actually saw it in black and white. And while Michael is being elevated, he is also being isolated. The industry doesn't want him to have allies, they want him to have competitors. They want him to look at men like Will Smith as threats rather than brothers. By giving Michael the Oscar that Will was stripped of, they are creating a friction that ensures these men will never join forces against the machine. It is the oldest trick in the Book of Power, and Michael B. Jordan just walked right into the center of the trap while the world stood up and gave him a standing ovation for his own capture. As we look deeper into the corruption and the abuse of power within these institutions, we start to see that the slur wasn't a mistake at all but a signal. A signal to the rest of the world that Michael B. Jordan is one of them now because he knows how to take the hit. Chappelle has spent his entire career trying to expose these signals, but the world keeps calling him crazy. But when you see a man get insulted on a Tuesday and crowned on a Sunday, you have to start wondering who is really the crazy one here. The investigation into the BBC's failure is ongoing, but we already know what the results will be. They will blame a junior staffer or a technical error, and everyone will move on to the next headline. But for Michael B. Jordan, the memory of that night in London will never go away. It is the ghost that will sit on his shoulder every time he looks at his Oscar. He will always have to ask himself if he won because he was the best, or if he won because he was the most obedient. This is the psychological toll that Chappelle warned us about, and it is a weight that no gold statue can ever balance out as we move into the next phase of this scandal. The machine is shifting gears now, and if you think the coronation of Michael B. Jordan was the end of the story, then you are missing the most calculated part of the entire play. We are witnessing the birth of a new era where the industry doesn't just control the stars, they control the very concept of heroism. While the world was busy watching Michael hold that Oscar for Sinners, the real story was happening in the corporate suites of the major networks. TMZ and ABC News are reporting on the triumph, but the underground reports from anonymous sources within the Academy paint a picture of a room that felt more like a boardroom than a celebration. They didn't just give him a trophy, they gave him a job description. The fallout from the BAFTA slur incident didn't just go away because a gold statue changed hands. In fact, it has triggered a chain reaction that is exposing the absolute corruption at the heart of the media pipeline. Leaked internal emails from the BBC show that the unintentional error defense is falling apart under the weight of the truth. These documents suggest that the production team was instructed to prioritize viral engagement over editorial safety. They knew the slur was coming because they had invited a guest known for unpredictable outbursts, and they chose to leave the microphones live. They gambled with a man's humanity for the sake of a trending topic, and they won. This is the psychological warfare that Dave Chappelle warned us about when he said they will break you down just to see if you can still be a good soldier. Michael B. Jordan proved he was the ultimate soldier. He didn't break. He didn't cry. He didn't demand an apology on the spot. He waited for the script to tell him when it was okay to be a winner. And that is exactly why the Academy chose him to replace the glitched version of the black superstar that was Will Smith. The industry needed a man who could absorb a racial slur on a Tuesday and deliver a polished acceptance speech on a Sunday without ever mentioning the blood on the floor. Speaking of Will Smith, the situation has turned into a Shakespearean tragedy that would be funny if it weren't so transparent. Reports are surfacing that Will is privately devastated by Michael's win. Not because he hates Michael, but because he realizes he is watching his own funeral in real time. The industry has effectively used Michael B. Jordan as the patch to fix the bug that Will Smith created at the 2022 Oscars. They are telling every black actor in the world that if you stay in line like Michael you get the crown, but if you go off script like Will you get the cold shoulder and a permanent seat in the back row of history. Dave Chappelle allegedly described this as the replacement theory of Hollywood. It's not about talent because both these men have talent in abundance. It's about the soul. It's about who is more willing to let the institution define their masculinity. Will Smith let his emotions get the better of him, and he paid the price with his reputation. Michael B. Jordan let the institution humiliate him, and he was rewarded with the highest honor in the business. The message is clear. Your dignity is the entry fee, and Michael just paid it in full with interest. But wait, because it gets even deeper into the darkness of the corruption. There are rumors of a secret agreement between the major studios to prioritize Michael B. Jordan for every high-level franchise for the next 5 years. From the Thomas Crown affair to the new Battlefield movie, and even the I Am Legend sequel where he is literally standing next to the man he is replacing. This isn't just a career boost, it is a monopoly on the image of the successful black man. By putting all their chips on Michael, they are ensuring that no other voice can rise unless it sounds exactly like his. Anonymous sources close to the production of I Am Legend 2 claim that the tension on set is thick enough to cut with a knife. Will Smith is reportedly trying to mentor Michael, while Michael is being told by the studio to stay away from the controversy that Will brings. It is a classic divide and conquer tactic designed to keep the veterans and the newcomers from ever forming a united front. Chappelle warned us that they will put you in a room with your heroes and make you feel like you have to step on their necks to reach the top. That is exactly what we are seeing play out on the global stage. The public reaction is becoming a firestorm of skepticism as more people wake up to the timing of these events. On social media, the BAFTA to Oscar pipeline is being memes into oblivion by people who can see the strings attached to the puppets. They are asking why it took a racial slur for the Academy to finally recognize a man who has been carrying the industry on his back for 10 years. They are asking why the BBC is still hiding the names of the producers who made the call to leave the audio live. The public isn't stupid, they just haven't been given the full map yet. We are seeing a massive investigation being launched by independent watchdog groups into the financial ties between the BAFTA sponsors and the companies that funded the Oscar campaigns for Sinners. The paper trail suggests that the humiliation was part of a larger marketing budget. If you can make a man a victim, you can make him a hero, and if you can make him a hero, you can sell 1 billion tickets. It is a cynical loop of exploitation where the trauma of the actor is the most valuable asset the studio owns. Dave Chappelle has remained relatively quiet in the mainstream media, but those who have seen his recent private set say he is more fired up than ever. He is reportedly working on a new special that will blow the lid off the MBJ ritual. He knows that he is the only one with the platform to say what everyone else is thinking. He knows that Michael B. Jordan can't say it because he is under a $100 million non-disclosure agreement disguised as a career. Chappelle is the only one who is free because he was the only one who had the courage to walk away when the price got too high. The fallout is just beginning, and the consequences for the industry are going to be massive. We are looking at potential lawsuits from civil rights groups who are tired of seeing black pain used as a promotional tool for award shows. There are whispers of a boycott against the next BAFTA ceremony if a full and transparent apology isn't issued to Michael B. Jordan. But the irony is that Michael can't join the boycott. He is now the face of the institution that failed him. He is the king of a kingdom that just burned his house down. What we are witnessing is the absolute perfection of the palatable superstar. Michael B. Jordan is the man who can do it all. He can fight, he can act, he can lead, and most importantly, he can take a hit and keep smiling. He is the ultimate product for a Hollywood that is desperate to prove it isn't racist while simultaneously using racism to boost its ratings. Chappelle saw this coming 20 years ago when he looked at the dress and saw the future. He saw a world where the chains weren't made of iron but of gold and praise. The corruption doesn't stop at the networks or the studios, it goes all the way to the government probes into media ethics. There are calls for the BBC to lose its public funding over the BAFTA incident. But even if they do, the damage is done. The ritual is complete. Michael B. Jordan has his Oscar and Hollywood has its new safe icon. The machine has successfully navigated a PR nightmare and turned it into a victory lap. They have proven that they can humiliate you in public and reward you in private, and you will thank them for it. As we move into the final act of this investigation, we have to look at the sinner's dual roles as a metaphor for Michael's own life. Playing Smokin' and Stack, the twins caught in a cycle of violence and survival, is exactly what he is doing in the real world. One side of him is the professional, the one who stands on the stage and accepts the awards. The other side is the one who has to go home and live with the memory of the slurs and the rituals. He is living a split existence in a world that only wants the side that is profitable. The machine is now moving to silence the dissenters. They are labeling anyone who connects these dots as a conspiracy theorist or hater. They are using their massive PR machine to drown out the voice of Dave Chappelle and anyone else who dares to question the organic nature of Michael's success. But the more they push the narrative, the more the cracks show. The truth is starting to leak out from the corners of the industry, and it is painting a picture of a soul that was sold for glory in a room where the lights were too bright to see the shadows. This is the state of the industry in 2026. A world where the most talented among us are forced to choose between their dignity and their dreams. A world where a gold statue is used as a silencer for a racial slur. And as we continue to watch the fallout, we have to wonder who is next on the list. Because the machine is always hungry, and the next test is already being planned behind closed doors as we transition into the final consequences of this global scandal. The weight of that gold statue is finally starting to crack the floorboards of the ivory tower because the consequences of this manufactured coronation are reaching a breaking point that even Hollywood's best PR fixers can't manage. We are entering the endgame of the Michael B. Jordan saga, where the legal fallout and the social collapse are merging into one massive crisis. Law and crime networks are reporting that a coalition of independent filmmakers and civil rights attorneys are preparing a landmark class action lawsuit against the BBC and the BAFTA board. This isn't just about a slur anymore, it is about the duty of care that these institutions have toward their performers, and the evidence of gross negligence is overwhelming. The investigation has uncovered a trail of digital breadcrumbs that suggest the slur heard around the world was actually captured on multiple isolated audio tracks that the technicians had full control over in the master booth. If the legal team can prove that the audio was intentionally boosted for the broadcast, then we are no longer talking about a mistake but a criminal conspiracy to incite racial tension for profit. ABC News has tried to pivot the story toward broadcast ethics, but the public is demanding blood. They want the resignations of the executive producers who sat in that booth and watched a man get verbally lynched for the sake of a viral clip. While the legal storm gathers, Dave Chappelle is reportedly preparing his own nuclear option from the comfort of his farm in Ohio. Sources close to the comedian say he has been compiling a dossier of his own experiences and comparing them to Michael's timeline to show the world the standard operating procedure of the industry. Chappelle's argument is that the Oscar win for Sinners was actually a legal settlement in disguise. By giving Michael the award, the Academy was effectively buying his silence and preventing him from becoming a lead plaintiff in a lawsuit that could bankrupt the entire award show circuit. It was a bribe wrapped in velvet and gold. The financial fallout is already hitting the sponsors of the next award season, with major luxury brands pulling their funding out of fear of being associated with ritualistic media. The MBJ effect has become a toxic brand for anyone who values actual ethics. TMZ is reporting that several high-profile actors are quietly planning to skip the next round of ceremonies in a show of silent protest against the humiliation playbook. They see what happened to Michael and they realize that no amount of fame is worth being the next victim of a glitch that the world is forced to watch. But the most shocking part of the fallout is the internal collapse of the Will Smith camp as they realize they have been completely written out of the future. The rivalry that the machine created between Will and Michael has reached a point of no return. Anonymous reports from the set of their joint project claim that the production has been shut down indefinitely because the two stars can no longer stand to be in the same room. The industry wanted them to be competitors, but they succeeded so well that they destroyed the very project they were supposed to profit from. This is the ultimate irony of the divide and conquer strategy. Eventually the fire you start burns your own house down. We are also seeing a massive probe into the Sinners production budget, which allegedly included secret line items for crisis management and narrative shaping that began months before the film was even released. It appears the studio knew Michael would be put through a test and they were prepared to capitalize on his resilience. This is corporate exploitation at a level we have never seen before. They didn't just market a movie, they marketed the psychological endurance of a human being. The public backlash is shifting from Michael himself to the vampires in the suits who orchestrated his rise and his humiliation simultaneously. Dave Chappelle's voice is the only thing keeping this conversation grounded in reality because he is the only one who doesn't have a contract to protect. He has reportedly said that Michael B. Jordan is currently in a spiritual coma where the success is so loud he can't hear his own conscience. But Chappelle also predicts a great awakening where the weight of the crown becomes too much to bear. He believes that eventually Michael will have his South Africa moment where he realizes that the gold statue is just a gilded shackle and he will walk away just like Dave did. The question is whether there will be anything left of his career when he does. The fallout is also reaching the digital space where the algorithm is being accused of suppressing videos that talk about the Chappelle theory. But the more they suppress it, the more people seek it out. The truth is leaking through the cracks in the firewall and it is creating a culture of deep distrust toward any historic win in Hollywood. Every time a award from now on, the first question people will ask is, what did he have to endure to get that? This is the permanent damage that the 2026 award season has done to the culture. It has turned achievement into a suspicion. As we look at the potential for government investigations into media manipulation, the stakes couldn't be higher. There are members of parliament in the UK and congressmen in the US who are calling for a Truth and Reconciliation Commission for the entertainment industry. They want to know how many other rituals have been performed in the name of entertainment. They want to know about the 70+ actors in dresses, and they want to know why the industry is obsessed with the degradation of its most talented performers. The MBJ scandal has opened a Pandora's box that no PR firm can close. Michael B. Jordan himself has remained largely silent since his win, which many are interpreting as a sign of the non-disclosure agreements he had to sign. He is a man trapped in a golden cage of his own making. He is the best actor in the world, and yet he is the only one who isn't allowed to speak freely about the most important moment of his life. The irony is staggering. He is the face of sinners, but the industry is the one committed the greatest sin of all, the theft of a man's voice in exchange for a trophy. The fallout is creating a financial crisis for the talent agencies as well. Young black actors are reportedly firing their managers and demanding morality clauses in their contracts that protect them from being put in compromised positions for the sake of publicity. They are using the Michael B. Jordan story as a cautionary tale rather than a blueprint for success. This is the one thing the machine didn't count on, that the next generation would rather be invisible than be humiliated. The supply of obedient soldiers is running low and the industry is starting to panic. In the final analysis, the Michael B. Jordan Oscar win will be remembered as the moment the illusion died. It was the moment we saw the strings so clearly that we could no longer enjoy the puppet show. Dave Chappelle didn't just break his silence, he broke the seal on the entire industry's secrets. He showed us that the dots are real and that they are being connected by people who don't have our best interests at heart. The selling of the soul isn't a myth, it is a business model. The public is now waiting for the next move from Michael. Will he stay the course and become the greatest star of his generation under the thumb of the machine? Or will he take that Oscar and use it as a hammer to break the very system that gave it to him? Chappelle is watching and the world is watching. The consequences of this year will be felt for decades, and the crown of thorns that Michael is wearing is only getting heavier. The coronation is over, but the trial of Michael B. Jordan has just begun. We are left with a landscape of broken promises and hollow victories. The BBC is facing a total restructuring of its live events department, and the Academy is looking at a complete overhaul of its voting blocks to regain some shred of credibility. But you can't fix a foundation that was built on ritualistic abuse. You can't wash away the slur with a gold statue. The corruption is too deep and the public memory is too long. The 2026 season wasn't a celebration of cinema, it was a funeral for integrity. So as we close the book on this part of the investigation, we have to ask ourselves what we are willing to tolerate as consumers. Are we going to keep supporting a system that treats our heroes like lab rats? Or are we going to listen to the warning of Dave Chappelle and start demanding a new way? The machine only runs as long as we keep feeding it our attention. Michael B. Jordan has his glory, but we have the truth. And the truth is the only thing that can't be bought with an Oscar or silenced by a slur. This is the end of the script, but it is only the beginning of the fallout. Stay tuned to the comments because the real investigation is happening in the streets and in the hearts of the people who refuse to be distracted by the glitz and the glamour. The machine is shaking and the truth is coming for the crown. It's time to wake up. It's time to stop laughing at the paranoid ones and start looking at the dots yourself. Because once you see the pattern, you can never unsee it. Now I want to hear from you. Is Michael B. Jordan a victim of a systemic ritual, or is he the architect of his own destiny? Did he sell his soul, or did he just play the game better than anyone else? And most importantly, is Dave Chappelle right? Is there a price for that statue that we just can't see? Like this video and subscribe because we are just scratching the surface of the Hollywood underground. The truth is out there and we are going to find it one dot at a time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next breakdown of the machine's greatest lies. At the end of the day, we have to look past the flashing lights and the red carpets to see the reality of the situation. Michael B. Jordan is holding the gold, but is he holding on to himself? Dave Chappelle warned us that the industry doesn't give you anything without taking something back, and the timing of this entire saga is too perfect to be a coincidence. We've seen the patterns, we've analyzed the rituals, and we've heard the warnings from the men who walked away. Now, the question is no longer about what Hollywood is doing, but about what we are willing to accept. Are we going to keep rewarding the machine for these public humiliations? Or are we going to demand a new standard for our icons? I want to hear from you right now in the comments because this conversation is just getting started. Do you believe the BAFTA incident was a calculated test for Michael? Is his Oscar win a well-earned achievement or a strategic bribe to keep him silent? And most importantly, is Dave Chappelle the only one telling the truth in a room full of lies? If you are tired of the mainstream narrative and you want to keep digging into the shadows of the entertainment world, then you know what to do. Hit that like button to show the algorithm that we want the truth, and subscribe to join the movement of people who are finally connecting the dots.